have been together for almost 12 years. We married shortly after it became legal in New Hampshire, a few weeks after. And I'm taking all your stuff, aren't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'll let you can talk about anything else.
Yeah, pretty much what she said.
Yeah.
I'm from Pittsburgh, New Hampshire, from way up north, so I had to come down to the big city of Concord. So somebody knows where. Oh, I'm Cynthia. I'm Cyn Fish. And yeah, we've been together. I am desperately trying to get a hold of myself after that movie because, whoa,
That's heavy.
whew. If you heard some sobbing in the back, that's her.
No.
I work at Concord High School. I'm a substitute teacher now. I'm working towards becoming a special education teacher. And I look forward to our discussion.
I'm Mo Baxley, and I've been an advocate and an organizer for the LGBT community for 30 years. I was the executive director of New Hampshire Freedom to Marry, so I was the lobbyist who made New Hampshire the first state in the country to recognize marriage equality legislatively without any court order or threat of court order.
Hi, I'm Ron Abramson. I have an immigration law practice in Manchester, and I happen to be the secretary of the board of New Hampshire Public Television. And I felt absolutely no pressure whatsoever until this was billed as a monumental discussion. And, I should have had everyone sign a waiver. But I have handled a number of same-sex immigration cases, and, the whole point of my practice is that everybody should expect consistent, just results in the legal systems into which they are often forced to participate. They don't choose that. And it's been heartening to see that people who had no options now suddenly have every option, or most of the options that everyone else has.
So now we'll start the discussion. Anyone first? Okay, I'll go first. I would love your reactions to this film, because I know I was utterly moved, and being only 25, not having experienced the gay rights movement for as long as some other people on this panel have, I am utterly moved, and I remember I was in tears when Obama ruled as being for gay marriage, and when Jim was passed, I remember being a puddle of tears. So I'd love your reactions to the film. You can go right down the line.
Okay. Yeah, there was a lot that I actually learned from that. The movie, I did not know that there was marriage licenses of even a couple in Colorado back then. So I'm embarrassed that I didn't know, and glad that I know now. That was a very powerful movie. And there were so many moments that have happened that, were, for us, those, remember where we were when we heard this, and remember where we, bought the newspaper when Massachusetts legalized, and,
Rage in my dorm room at Keene State when
Yeah.
DOMA was passed.
Yeah.
Rage!
Yeah, that, could relive now through that,
Yeah. I thought the movie was incredibly moving. I admit, I was embarrassed to admit that I didn't realize that I had actually never heard of those two gentlemen until the movie, but I had almost a visceral reaction to some of seeing like the Anita, what's her last name? Bryant.
That shows you're young.
I know, and I exactly, and I know we're even too young to even have been through some of what some of you others have seen, but having seen DOMA and I guess we kind of got lucky to be on the good end of some of this, really,
Yeah.
and we appreciate that.
Yeah.
But we're so thankful for all those that fought before us.
Yeah.
So, but the movie was, it's good to remember where you came from sometimes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we always saw the light at the end of the tunnel. We always knew that that we were on our way. We never saw really, as a couple, saw dark times. So we were lucky in that.
Yeah.
We were chatting before the film started, and to this day I don't drink orange juice.
Yeah.
For me, sometimes you get so caught up in the legal and the lobbying and talking to this senator and that senator that you almost have to put this aside, because you can't effectively do it if you're carrying this. But I guess it reminds me that everything we do is because somebody did something before we got
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And then we all stand on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah.
And what we do, we pass on.
Yeah.
It was tough to watch. I knew about all the issues and a little bit about the legal history, but I also knew that the Windsor decision came down in 2013, and I thought, okay, I'm just sort of bracing for the happy ending. And this was not a Hollywood film. This was community cinema, so you don't get your saccharine Disney princess or prince ending, and it's tragic. And you have to wonder, how much did that struggle literally take the life out of Richard so that he couldn't exist to the end? I mean, first thing everybody says, lung cancer, oh, he was a smoker. Yeah, he was probably a smoker. He was so stressed out because he couldn't live openly with the person he loves for his entire adult life. And it's just absolutely heartbreaking. And I've had clients, I've been doing this, I've been practicing law since 1993, immigration since about 1998, and I've had people come see me and leave the United States to go resettle with their same-sex partners in countries that are more progressive, be it in Europe, Canada, and now people are either coming back, but some of them think, why come back? The U.S. wasn't there for us when we needed them, and they've established a life elsewhere, and others are just lucky because they have opportunities that weren't available. We're not talking, this is an ancient history, and this is a year and a half, not quite 2 years old, the Windsor case. So it's pretty shocking and sad.
I don't want to be a party crasher. There's been a lot of strides made over the last 10, 15 years and stuff, but don't adopt the victory narrative too easily. There's so much more to be done. You can be married one day and fired from your job or thrown out of your apartment the next day in a lot of states.
Yeah.
There's so many things for transgender that are not there. There's still a lot of things for gay people that are not there. We have a lot of ways to go. We can't get complacent, rest on our laurels, and just pretend it's going to get better and better. We have to keep fighting. And there's going to be a huge backlash. If the Supreme Court says everybody can get married, expect a huge backlash to move it just right. It's going to happen. It's coming. So I want you, don't. Oh yeah, they're cranking the machine with the elections and all. It's already starting.
Because it's not like they're going to say, oh, well, we lost and go home. They're just finding new ways to come at us. So it's like this year in Concord, they introduced legislation. They're calling it religious freedom or, conscientious objector. And it was like they introduced legislation that got killed, but it said that anyone in the medical field, a doctor, an insurance company, a nurse, a pharmacist, could not treat you if you offended their conscience.
That's terrifying.
And it's like, that was introduced in New Hampshire, and everybody was like, oh, and the polling on this religious exemption stuff, it's like, people keep hearing about the baker or the pizza parlor, and they keep saying, the florist, and it's like, well, if they don't want to serve them, they shouldn't have to. And it's like, no, wait a minute. It's like, we had this discussion back in the 60s.
Yeah.
And it was like, there were people who sat at those lunch counters and fought that fight for us. And it's like, but it's coming back. So it's like, we got to be paying attention. We can't take that victory yet. But
We thought we solved the racial thing in the 60s. It's still coming back. It's still going on.
Never left.
It just festers for a while and boom.
Healthcare is the same thing. Healthcare is the same thing. I remember my first president was Dwight Eisenhower, and they talked about healthcare, national healthcare, not to get off the subject, but it's all related. That they talked about, we had to study it, okay? Well, they've been studying it. Well, now we finally have a program, and they want to disband it, they want to get rid of it. They're sore losers.
Yeah.
It's never done.
Right, this was the least, this Congress has done, what is it? I think this Congress has done the least amount of anything in the history of the United States. They've literally accomplished the least amount regardless of what it is. They just can't agree on anything. And I think,
And we as a people are suffering from it.
yeah, absolutely.
Like Mo said earlier, Citizens United, worst decision ever made by the Supreme Court. That has to be undone.
Yeah.
It's all money. Money
Yeah.
talks and everybody else just, they laugh at us. We're a joke.
The good news is we live in New Hampshire. And we have 400 legislators. The New Hampshire House is 400. It's the third largest body in like the world. But the good news is it makes retail politics and grassroots easier. We have access. It's like you can call your, home phone numbers are published. You can call your rep up and say, meet me at Dunkin' Donuts for coffee because I want to talk to you. And they say, okay. In other states, you can't do that. You got to go through 16 staff people and its attorneys and blah, blah, blah.
Hey.
I love Ron. So we have an opportunity here, and particularly with the First in the Nation primary, the eyes of the world really are, we can counter-effect that money with our retail politics and just our, you want my vote, you come sit in my kitchen and you tell me why. It is really our responsibility to engage in that process and to do that and go see every candidate and talk to every candidate and bring our issues up in front of every reporter from every corner of the world and frame the debate for the rest of the country, because we have that opportunity. The people in South Dakota never see these candidates.
Was there a hand?
Yes, I had a question for the fishes.
The Mrs. Fishes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just easier. Yeah.
Even though gay marriage has been legalized in the state of New Hampshire, I'm wondering, have you felt at the hands of discrimination here in the state of New Hampshire and any of the people that you've approached as a couple, as a married couple now? I know we're the live free or die state, but people all have their opinions, so I'm wondering how well accepted your marriage has been.
I think that there's only been one or two times, and that's been with our kids' families, our kids' friends' families. There was once when one of our daughters was like the 3rd grade that we found out that her friends' parents were not very happy. They didn't want her playing with him, playing with her. That was once ever.
I think there's been a couple of personal sort of objections, and then we did actually have had one business, who I should probably not mention.
Mention.
Please do.
Indeed, it was actually, it's right on Main Street. What was that? Remember when we were shopping for your shoes?
Yes.
That Princess Palace over there, what's the...
Something
gone.
to remember.
A day to remember.
A day to remember, yes.
Is it still there?
Yeah.
No.
Not as that, no.
Yeah.
They don't remember?
Well, it used to be
the
called the
people-
Princess Shop, now it's called
It's
the
now,
Day to
it's a day to remember.
Yes.
Big
I
Yes.
think it was a day to remember.
Yeah, when we were
They
getting married,
wanted it to be a day to forget.
yeah, when
They
we
were
were getting
not.
married, she was very unfriendly.
Yeah, there was some pretty
Yes.
rude people.
Yeah.
But I would say, yeah, it was shocking because we had been all over the city and everybody was wonderful, and it was kind
Yes,
of
when they were like, "Oh, you're the ones getting married."
everybody was so excited, and we were here ready to spend money, and usually that opens doors no matter what you're doing. But they were not friendly.
Yeah.
So, and I can't think of.
She was always more hesitant in the beginning to be telling people that she, that my wife, she was saying my wife,
Yeah.
like with like much older people, that she was more hesitant about it because she grew up in Pittsburgh, so it's a much smaller town, so it was more quiet. She grew up having to keep more quiet about it, so and as soon as we got married, I was like, I don't care, it's legal. And
We're from the big city of Concord.
Yeah,
She's a city girl.
Yeah.
She's a city slicker.
and I'm kind of a big mouth. and I was like, we're completely legal at this point, and if somebody has a problem with it, then that's going to be their problem and not mine. So, and I knew in the beginning, people were kind of like, oh, and it's less and less. I've seen that's been less and less, but we still have friends, even like very open-minded progressive people that are like, do you call her like your wife?
Right.
Or like,
Which one of you is the husband? Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what? Wait,
No.
what? Like, you know.
Yeah, and you still get a lot of the, like if I'm on the phone, oh, is your husband home, or or can I speak to the man of the really?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes, like, you want to talk to my dad? I'll give you his number.
Right, yeah.
But occasionally, yeah, that does still happen.
Yeah.
I remember when I went to the town of Pembroke to get my marriage license, I talked to the town clerk. He goes, just have your fiancé come in and sign it. And when I came back, I said, this is my fiancé. He goes, oh!
I had to say it was one E.
It was like a deer in headlights. Oh!
Yes. Yeah, we have encountered that.
Yeah.
So.
Little education going on.
Yeah, it is, because then when you walk away, then they can process how they want
Yes.
to, but you've exposed them to something that you
Yeah.
know that they may not have been exposed to.
She's braver than I am. I mean, I come from, do you know where Pittsburgh, New Hampshire is?
Yes.
They shoot
Hunting
things up
country.
there. They look for a lot, they try to shoot a lot of things. I wasn't sure if it was me, so I keep my mouth shut.
Grassland.
But in fact, my town of Pittsburgh, I will give it credit, they've been wonderful. But one of my, I think probably the biggest, I think I don't know, the most, I actually had a run-in with Mitt Romney. Give it up for Mitt. Woo! Right?
He beat you, yeah, Rick Santorum.
You did you go to, yeah.
He shook his hand.
Ugh.
Uh,
Did you watch that?
I scared the bejesus out of Mitt, and he's a Mormon, so that was terrible. But he was at Concord High School. I don't know if you were at Concord High School
I
back.
was not, no.
No. Oh, they were not happy.
Was that
with
before or
me.
after his, the encounter he had in Manchester with the gay veterans?
This was before. This was
I heard
before.
That was a Shiva show.
And
Yeah.
he was talking about marriage and how it should be between a man and a woman, and it's meant to raise kids and everything. And so me being probably young and not dumb to keep my mouth shut with all my bosses standing around, I stood up and I was like, well, I have a question. And I said, what you said basically invalidates my family. And so, and you talk about a deer in the headlights look on that guy. It actually ended up going, it was huge news. It made national. Have you heard about that? You know who I am, don't you? Like, you're the one that didn't keep her mouth shut. Yep.
Yeah, and it was on like talk radio.
Yeah,
and it was in like other languages by the end of the day.
It was huge.
And,
So that's my claim to fame. Is I told Mitt Romney.
It was in
just
the,
what
hit the AP by the,
did.
by the end of the day.
Mitt.
Yeah.
I loved all the headlines, like lesbian mama bear gives Mitt the what for. Yeah, hilarious.
They weren't all that nice though.
Not all of them. But yeah, I have gotten a little more progressive as we've gotten been together longer. I've gotten a little more daring.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've been blabbing the whole time. Do you heard about it? Am I pretty badass in this?
You are badass.
All right. Thanks, Mo.
Yes.
I think part of it is where you live, because we moved here 20-something years ago, we moved to Pembroke, and we bought a house in Alexandria, and they would say, the ladies up the street.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Now, we had a kid in middle school then, and then she went to high school and graduated, then we adopted a child, which went through their school system.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, you
2 middle
Send them
school,
through a
and we
tailspin.
took her out and homeschooled her. But she come home from school and she says, hey, you know Jenny? Yeah. She's got 2 dads. I said, oh, that's good. And we got 2 moms.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a good school because they work with the parents and they work with the kids when they had the parent-teachers things and their little parties, before vacations and stuff like that. Everybody was included.
Yep.
And, we never had any problem with the other parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
that
we've had
one
just
for us,
one or
really.
two. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And then we moved from Concord to Ware. We had lived in Concord for like 6 years, the first 6 years that we were together, and then we moved to Ware. And we were a little nervous because Ware was a little bit more small town, a little bit more rural, but it was like seamless.
Yeah.
They immediately, sometimes we get the impression that people are like, we have gay
Makes Ware more interesting.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, did you hear about the new gays?
You know what I mean? But whatever, we'll take it.
Yeah, we'll totally take it.
Don't mess with them.
Yeah, no. Well, the gays make the value of the town go up.
Absolutely.
I don't know about the lesbians as much because like, I just asked her. I got like the rundown lawnmower. I'm gonna fix it. But yeah, did you have a question back there?
No, I have a comment. I also live in Ware.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, and I moved there about 4 years ago. I retired from New York and I moved to New Hampshire and I ended up in Ware. And I worked at the local mobile station there. And I know that the majority of people that came in suspected me, you know, they didn't say it, but they suspected, and they were all really, really good about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I had absolutely no problems with the people whatsoever.
Yeah, we love it there.
Yeah, I was really surprised. They've been wonderful.
Yeah, and the people that I live on, this
That's
mountain road, you know, and the people there are really, really nice. I mean, the guy, you know, at the top, you probably own the Towns. Do you know the Towns? Anyway, they live up on top of the road, and they come down to help us, the snow plow, and, you know, I've had absolutely no problem in there whatsoever, which I thought was amazing because it is a small community.
Yeah, everything, the problems with the kids' friends were in Concord.
Yeah.
Which is strange. I feel like we're blabbing so much, I'm sorry. She's like, you mess with Mitt Romney, I'm not messing with you. Right?
Yeah, I have a question for Ron, because he's seen, there's the change in with the Supreme Court ruling. How fast is that trickling down with immigration?
Oh, it was close to immediate. They put out the policy implementation memos very quickly, and people were filing, and I mean, one of the ironies, I guess I'll do my little immigration comments. My same-sex clients have been treated better at immigration than a lot of my heterosexual clients.
Really?
I think they were just being very, very careful and very respectful, and, you know, I'll take it, but, you know, we don't want the pendulum to swing that way so that everybody else is getting treated like dirt. And immigration, you know, there was a moment in the movie where he slips back across the border because he's white and he put the Bakersfield cap on, and that's really the immigration bias. At the end of the day, you know, dark, brown, black, yellow, whatever, tends to be much more of a bias. But the whole immigration system, I mean, not much shocks me. That denial letter is shocking. I mean, by any measure of reasonableness, it's, you know, you just have to think somebody had to get fired for that. And then some. The good news is INS doesn't exist anymore. You know, it's all part of the Department of Homeland Security. But the immigration system is this dysfunctional, outdated patchwork, and, you know, sexual orientation is just a piece of that. I mean, it just, the world is sort of post-border in many, many ways. And, you know, the way that people meet online, the way that people forge relationships, the fact that people don't necessarily choose to settle in one country if they have the reasons and resources to do that, and they end up in these limbo situations. You know, immigration needs a wholesale reform. That's what we're promoting, comprehensive immigration reform. And, you know, every time we think we're inching towards that, there are just political winds that blow back in our face. But this is a, you know, one little piece of a happy immigration, you know, integration into the system. And, you know, I think they're going to judge the relationships like they judge other relationships. They still have to be bona fide marital relationships. I mean, you can't, just because you're same sex doesn't mean there's a whole new class of marriage fraud, although maybe there is, I don't know. But that's the funny thing. There was historic massive fraud because that's one way that same-sex people managed to get here, get a green card, and stay. And there were sort of cross arrangements. I mean, the two moms and the two dads could have worked something out for immigration 25 years ago so that everybody could stay. And then, you know, oh, it didn't work out, everyone got divorced and ended up with their partner. So it's a lot of a, you know, outdated paper-pushing game, but at least as what you want for folks, you know, more people can be who they are and avail themselves of the benefits under the law.
I think then there was a lot of racial profiling too.
There still is.
You know, well, there is on other levels, I mean, not just gays or lesbians.
It seems like every generation, you know, there's gotta be the other.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, somebody to be afraid of.
Well, ever since the Cold War ended, you know,
Exactly,
we
we
can't
gotta-
vilify the Russians about everything. We have to
Right, we can't be afraid of the Russians anymore, so.
gays and Muslims,
Yeah.
basically.
So now we're worried about being invaded by Mexico.
And you have a question?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, like what you guys see as coming next, not like post the June ruling, because I think another problem that's arisen is the lack of recognition for other sexualities, asexuality, pansexuality, especially bisexuality, and the whole of the realm of transgender rights. I mean, I know Obama was the first president to ever publicly utter the word transgender. So I guess what do you guys hope to and expect to see after that?
In New Hampshire, it's transgender. And it's like we've already started working and educating legislators and having, educational forums come understand what because the average age of a legislator in New Hampshire is 65.
That was 102.
That's a major
Pleasant surprise.
So it's like, they don't know what transgender means, what transgender is. And,
though, 20 years ago, we were struggling with what
absolutely, what the
label
word that,
to put,
yeah, we didn't have the words.
No, there was no label then.
There's also a huge movement right now, people feeling like they have to identify something and as something and not wanting to, there's also the problem of gender fluidity, sexual fluidity.
Well, and it's like there's cultural and there's legal, and they're gonna be different, because in the law, you have to define it.
Yeah.
You gotta nail it down. So it's like, that'll happen legally, but absolutely, culturally, it's a whole brave new world out there.
Yeah.
Yes. My fear right now with what's going on is the Religious Freedom Act, and if these laws start getting passed, is it just towards gays, or do you think there's going to be religious Protestants fighting Christians? Do you think when they put, in New Hampshire, if that law passed and they said, okay, I don't like what you do, it's against my religion, is it just gays, or is it so?
Remember, the Ku Klux Klan burns crosses because they're bringing the light of Christ into the world. They're a religious organization. So it's no blacks, no Jews, no gays.
So will that come
People of
into
color,
play
it
if
will
these laws?
absolutely come into play.
It's all code. I mean, it's all code, As a semi-practicing Jew, I don't go around objecting to places that sell ham and claiming that it's my religious freedom to avoid that, or, all the sort of, it's just, nothing is what it seems, and they're just trying to make it rhetorically palatable when certain people who are being appeased on the fringes know exactly what it means. But the signs of progress, at the end of the day, you said it, money talks. So the signs of progress are that the backlash in Indiana and Arkansas wasn't just a bunch of enlightened people. When Walmart says, you're being, we don't think this is good for the business climate in our state, it means you're making progress. And
Walmart just refused to write the word gay on a cake.
oh, they probably did, they just spelled it wrong.
Here in Concord?
No, and someone, a guy asked his gay best friend to prom, and so they were trying to get, someone was trying to get a cake for them, and they refused to write gay.
But was it all of Walmart or just the local clerk working there?
And
I think
he's probably
I
been
think they
nailed
brought in
for
the
it by
manager
now.
and everything,
And
but
the manager
I'm not
wouldn't do
sure.
it still?
Yeah.
Progress never goes just,
No.
Yeah.
it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2
Yeah.
steps over to the left, so it's like, we're getting there.
The thing is, the people that are really young today, I'm not saying it about anybody in the room particularly, but they don't know the fight that came so much before. It's a learning curve and stuff like that, so some of them just assume, you can get married, it's
Yeah.
taken for granted. They don't know the fight that came before, they need to get up to speed and understand the huge fight
Yeah,
that
I
came
think-
before that.
What do you attribute the relative quickness that the change from the 1970s to now? I mean, it took, suffrage was over 100 years, and civil rights was over 120, 130 years, and just the turnaround in attitude and acceptance has been roughly 40 years, 50 years, if you include Stonewall.
I think there was 2 things. One, we inherited the wind. So we inherited the suffragist movement and the feminist movement and the civil rights movement. We inherited all that. But then came AIDS.
Yeah.
And the profound effect of, we didn't have a choice. We had to come out. And we were literally fighting for our lives. So I think it affected our movement in very profound ways. ACT UP came along. We learned how to get organized. We learned how to fight. We learned how to become effective. And it's like because we literally didn't have any other choice.
And you did the rallies, you did the gay pride. We went to Washington for the March in '93.
We were young then.
But I think a lot of it has to do with education. I think that's the primary move that's really through your organizations and different activists, educating the public, educating the children. The children are becoming more aware of it, and that's gonna move it along.
It's also personal relationships. You know, people will say, I don't know any gay people. It's like, yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You just don't know you know
Yeah.
gay people. And the less that happens, and the more you just interact with good people and not so good people, because no single population is, you know, homogenous. Pardon that pun, sort of, maybe. You know, that's the greatest destigmatizer of all. You know, in the immigration context, people say, deport them all! But wait, not my gardener. He's excellent. He's a really hard worker. So, you know, it just involves knowing people in contexts outside of just activism and causes,
Absolutely.
just community. And I think that's why maybe, you know, you find where to be you know, a welcoming place, because you're just interacting with people.
Right.
Yeah,
That's what I always
students.
said too, was that if we just acted normal and people accepted us, then they would say, oh, well, they're gay, but they're okay.
Yeah.
And that's the way, you know.
I don't think ACT UP helped a lot with the mainstream. I know they had their virtues,
Scared the
but
bejeebies out of people.
exactly.
Yeah.
There's also a different characteristic. If I'm Irish, my parents are Irish, and, you know, my siblings are Irish. It's not like you have an Italian in the room, but every family has gay people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it crosses all those lines. It's like, you know, it could be your son, it could be your sibling, it could be,
Your mom or dad.
so it's like every family can have a gay person, so it really
Well,
crosses
we
lines
have
and
more
brings
than
it up.
one. My brother-in-law is gay. My oldest son is gay. So life goes on.
Yeah.
And then
You got the good genes.
we got, right, we had, our middle daughter was in high school, and I said, where you going with the extra clothes? I said, you going out after school? She says, no. So-and-so is gay, and he said, would I bring him a skirt? I said, sure. So it's like, okay. I said, you better stay around and make sure he's all right afterwards. She says, Mom, it's okay. We got a group. Right. You know,
Yeah.
even though they know when they're teenagers, they will protect each other. Unless somebody puts the root in their head, that's not good.
And you had a question?
Oh, I was just thinking, I mean, we're talking about, yeah, like 40 years is relatively fast, not fast enough for a social movement, but really the public opinion just swung the last 5 years. I mean, it feels like that happened really
Yeah,
fast
that's
to
the
some
graphs
majority.
with the
Right.
switch into the 50s for approval was
Yeah.
within a
Yeah,
2-year span.
2012 was just
Yeah, we picked up speed, and like being a teacher at school, which I don't ever like advertise, but if somebody asks me, who do I have at home, or if are you gay, and I tell them, I'll be honest with them, and they're just kids are exposed more, like you said. It's now there's oh well she has 2 moms, he has 2 dads, and they're seeing it more, and especially now and socially on television and movies, it's finally being seen. And I think that does a lot to kind of help pick up speed when people see it. Oh, and that, you know, that I didn't burst into flames. My teacher's gay, and I didn't burst into flames, and it's okay.
Yet.
And yet, true.
Right.
Yep.
The problem
you-
with the media, though, I'm sorry.
You can, she had a question.
Great.
It's more of a comment. It's about the progression of gay rights in my school. Back like a while ago, they had to call a club where all the gays could meet JHS Pride, and they had to call it GHS Pride and say that they were proud of the school. They couldn't say that they wanted it to be, a group for the gays. And then it became, recently, GSA, Gay Straight Alliance, and it was a huge move for our school, and, we were able to start having bake sales. We were able to be public about it.
Don't let Michelle Obama
Did
hear
you
about
lose your
that.
pride? Did you still have pride?
Of course we did. And then we even progressed it further to, we changed we kept the GSA part, but we changed the wording. It's now Gender Sexuality Alliance in order to be inclusive to all genders and sexualities, because I myself, I'm agender. That means I don't associate with a gender whatsoever. I'm also a pansexual, which basically means whoever I fall in love with, male, female, no gender, or gender fluid person, or even anybody. Currently I'm with a male, and hopefully it'll stay that way. Who knows? But it's a great feeling to be able to come out and be like, hey, I'm this, and not have to hide in the shadows. Like, when I saw how they had to live in secret for so many years, it just broke my heart because, sorry, I'm getting kind of emotional right now. Because I couldn't imagine having to be that way. Having to be, it's like being locked in a box and not being able to be who you are. And I'm such a free spirit. I don't think I could have done that, and that takes so much strength, and I can only thank them for fighting so hard for people like us.
Your comments, sir?
I was gonna say that the media, Hollywood and, TV and stuff, everything you see about gay or transgender or anything is so sugarcoated. Look at Modern Family. Do you ever see them kiss? There's no intimacy. They're never, you don't even see them in bed really and stuff. If it's a straight couple, all that stuff is perfectly fine, but we have to cover all the time. So there's a long way to go, even Hollywood and media and stuff, in portraying that. And look, read Michelangelo Signorelli about outing and all that stuff. There's all these, and the media is in on the whole thing basically too. If there's a Republican that's voting against everything it's all anti-gay, but they're in the closet and they're gay anyways, that's wrong. That's blatant hypocrisy. It has to change. But the media just plays along with the game. They don't even dare ask the question. That's wrong. So all those things have to change if we're going to make this a better world for everybody, basically. Yeah.
What school do you go to?
Yeah, I go to Goffstown High School.
Goffstown?
Yes.
And this was recently that they wouldn't allow you to say
No,
pride.
This was a while ago. It was way back when they had to call it GHS Pride, as in having school pride.
Oh, okay. So that wasn't recent.
No, but there has been problems at my school with people like us, including there's been because I'm an agender pansexual, there's been a lot of gays that have actually been having some hate toward us.
Really?
And unfortunately, it's been a bit of a problem, but we've been working on it at our school.
Yeah, that's one thing I try to talk to. I go into sociology classes, and I have met some gay kids who, and I admit at first I was like, we're finally getting, marriage equality for just gay. Let's not piss everybody off too quick with all this new stuff. But I had to learn, and one thing, it's so funny how quickly intolerant gay people can become. It's ironic how, and I always try to say, think of all the intolerance that we've suffered. As much as it bothers you, and as much as you may dislike what they have to say, you cannot be intolerant of it.
It's this instinct to close the door behind you.
Yeah.
The door finally opens and you close it. I mean, that's what happens with immigration. You look at the people who work in the immigration service, nobody has a Native American name. Everybody has an ethnic name of some sort. Not many of them are straight Anglo names. I meant just Anglo names, whether they're straight or not. But it's the same concept. It's, we fought, we struggled, we got in,
Help the rest of you.
Right, the rest of you are on your own.
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
Good. Yeah.
Find your own way or just stay out of mine.
Yeah, and I fully admit when I first started to see kids who were exploring more, which I didn't understand, and I'm actually glad you to talk to you, because it's fascinating, and like I had to learn not to be intolerant just because I'm like, yeah, I bet. So,
Yeah.
but I wish you luck, and I hope that your school, and I hope there's teachers that stick up for you guys. I really do, and despite, maybe their personal beliefs, but as a teacher, I have this extraordinary, like, need to protect. I don't know why, but I hope you have.
My guidance counselor, John Webb, he leads our group, and
Good.
he's so for us.
I was gonna have to call the teacher Underground Railroad. I was gonna be like, we gotta get on this, right? Come on, Goffstown! Come on, Goffstown! Good, I'm glad to hear that. Good.
We got guys rooting for us.
Good.
Yeah.
Just a comment too, I think we all have to remember laws have been made, and they were made for a reason. And it seems like sometimes a law is outdated because it no longer has to be used, because the law has been effective and changed it, and that's the reason why there are the laws that we have and the laws have been made. And I think we all have to recognize that and work with it, to work together as a group.
A lot like using the Bible to justify certain belief systems 2 to 4 to 7,000 years later.
Yeah.
Questions, comments? I guess not.
Did you want to
Last answer. What?
Did you want to talk about GLSEN at all?
Oh, I'll talk to you after. I work with GLSEN, which is the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network, and we actually work to benefit LGBT youth in schools. We have a local chapter here in New Hampshire. I'll talk to you after, and we can be in contact, because that's what we do. And I've been doing it for a couple years now, and we'll figure this out.
Yeah, I was like, and if you want to call in the lesbians, I'll be like,
Heather,
lesbian
just
team.
come on.
Yeah.
Heather and all.
Call us in. I'll round them up.
And if pansexuality involves people from other countries,
Everyone's coming. Watch it out.
Yeah. I know, it's funny because, like I said, we never, saw, really dark times, we're young enough, we're lucky for that. Like, sometimes I'm grateful that I'm just played gay.
Right.
You know what I mean? That I don't have to struggle with that extra stuff that I'm gonna sound old, the kids these days. That a lot of, I never, I just knew that this was, what I was. And that people, they just know that they're straight, and they just know that they're gay. And even bisexuality, I imagine it must be a struggle, and I'm just grateful that I didn't have to, and I can't imagine that must be.
Yeah, you're brave.
Yeah,
you're brave.
Absolutely.
You're very brave.
I heard a great little account of a woman, who has a teenage son, maybe just preteen, who said, "Mom, I need to talk to you. I want to come out. I'm straight." And there was no irony. He just thought coming out one way or another was something everybody does now.
Yeah.
Like that's just part of the, the
I have
process
to tell you.
of, you make this declaration,
Yeah.
And I think that's a sign of major progress.
Yes, absolutely. We have 2 daughters, and our oldest is somewhere along she's along there spectrum, trying to figure out where she is. But my youngest, the poor thing, I think she was born straight.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it.
And I was
Another one lost.
oh.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, I'm so sorry you were born straight.
I
I was like, I'm so sorry. That struggle is awful. I'm so sorry.
My friend who went on a gay cruise came back, and I said, "How was it?" And he said, "It was pretty fun, but I realized after 2 weeks the world does need straight people too."
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they can give birth to more gay babies.
Yeah.
Maybe
Somebody has to.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do it.
Well, I mean, I work on that.
I just wanted to add one little light of hope. It took a long time for the government to make certain changes, but just this year, Housing and Urban Development put out some guidance clarifying a law that they had made a couple of years ago, or a ruling, and they're clarifying how to serve transgender individuals in homeless shelters, and that, they're trying to explain how to respect them, what services to give them, how to make them feel comfortable, how to really be respectful, and this is coming from the federal government, so maybe we're not as far behind as you might think.
Yeah.
I would say the Obama administration has done more with rules and policies to get around this do-nothing Congress.
Yeah.
I mean, the list of things the administration has done is remarkable.
Any more questions or comments?
I think the fact that he came out in support of equality was a huge way to shift the conversation forward.
You can thank Joe Biden for pushing.
Well, yeah. I wonder if that was a plant, though.
You have a question or comment?
Sorry.
I was just thinking on the scene in the documentary where the one gentleman was talking about how his mother had rejected him entirely, and he actually showed the letter on there. And I've lived in Central America for the last 4 years, and I have a couple of dear friends there that are gay in a society that completely shuns them. And the laws are very backwards there. And I have a friend right now that's going through his business with his mother completely rejecting him and threatened to pull his business out from underneath him, the business he built, a family business, because she can't accept the fact that he's gay. And he lives a double life. He has to go out of the town he lives in to another big city in order to see his boyfriend, you know, and spend a day or two there and then come back and run his business. He can't be away from his business for very long. So he's leading this double life. And when I saw that letter, it tore to my heart, because he's always sending me messages, you know, while I've been back in the States this year, telling me, you know, my mother did this or my mother said that. And he's like 25, so he's not a little kid anymore. But he still feels this intense pressure from his family, because some of them have accepted him and some haven't.
Well, years ago, I handled an asylum case that was based on an African male who was not only not able to be open, but was persecuted by, you know, his own family, it turned out. And I mean, his own family hired people to beat him up until he became straight. And this happened in 2 countries. And, you know, we eventually, I mean, surprisingly, we won because we convinced the Immigration Service that that was an identifiable social group and that it fit the definition of persecution. So in that very limited sense, and that was what, that was probably early 2000s, so that was before, you know, DOMA was repealed. I mean, that was one other avenue, but unfortunately it meant somebody had to have suffered some pretty horrible events in order to be able to, and somehow gotten to the U.S. in order to be able to make that claim. So there has been at least a little bit of light in the asylum realm as well.
Well, and it's like, and I think we feel we need to be responsible to, whenever you hear on the news about immigration and the illegals, think of this. Because that's who we're talking about, because Ava Costello will kill me if I don't say. This is happening every day to families just like us, but they're heterosexual. I mean, it's still happening. People are separating families. They're taking dads and, you know, throwing them out of the country while mom and the kids are here, and it's just horrendous. Yeah. And we have a responsibility to stop that injustice just as much as we worked to stop the other injustices in our lives. The other thing, as Americans and as people who live in this country, no matter how hard it is here, it is light years better than it is in Russia or in some of the African
Central
countries.
America.
Central America. So it's like we need to pay attention, because we can put a spotlight on those countries, and we can affect change in those other countries just by saying we're watching you, you know, and we need to keep that up and help our, you know, brothers and sisters that we may never see or meet around the world.
The whole kill the gays thing.
Yeah,
Kill the
Uganda, I
gays
think.
But that's exported American hate, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Right.
it's like we need to take that responsibility seriously.
Where she works at Concord High, there are a lot of students from a lot of countries outside of the United States. And she has met other students that ask about me, and they actually, some of them don't think I exist.
Yeah.
They're like, no. They're like, oh, you have a wife? No.
You think their English is not quite right.
Right.
Yeah.
Or, and
Yeah,
one girl, her mother actually told her that I must be an actor or something. I must be playing a role because it couldn't be real.
Yeah.
And she honestly thought I was lying to her.
Yeah.
And even, you know, and she's even met her at this point now, so now I think she's just doesn't know what to think.
So you're taking your acting.
I'm like, I'm pretty serious, so it's,
but she's making seeing a difference in those kids, even if they still, you know, some of them are like, ugh, you know, which is really hard. That's really hard to see and really hard to, you know, to deal with, but they're exposed and they can see that she's a good teacher, she's a good person, she still cares about them, and they're still, she's there.
And that trickles back to the family that still lives in Africa and in Eastern Asia and.
Yep, and most of them are not like that. Most of them are like, oh, she's Miss Fish, and I love her, and she's, you know, like, and so the more they see us, and I coached cheerleading for a long time, and those kids would never have, you know, come across us, and so they've been exposed, you know, too. But like kids from other countries that she's seen, that's like mind blowing. Mind blowing.
She was a coach.
What's that?
Did you hear? I know.
Softball league.
I was like, no, that was me. I was softball
She was a
coach,
softball coach.
cheerleader.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
I know, and my sensible shoes. Yeah, can always tell them my sensible shoes.
Any more questions or comments? If not, then I'd love the panelists to give their final remarks about the film or about where we are as a country and where we need to go. That'd be great.
Well, I can't wait to show this. I want to show this to the kids, to our girls.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important for them to see it. And our older daughter is in the Anti-Defamation League at her school, and so I think it would be important for them to be able to see it too. I am holding my breath for the Supreme Court's next move. And I every time when, you know, last time we were checking our phones, and that's where we'll be again. I know that if it doesn't happen now, it will happen again. Hopefully and we'll keep fighting, yeah, and we'll keep loving each other and showing everybody that, you know,
This is how you do it.
this is what we do. Yeah,
This is how we do it.
yep. Yeah.
I'm actually. I was very moved. I'm going to encourage as many people to see the film as I can, and I'll just keep working towards one thing I always try to share. If I do hear intolerance or hatred, I feel like I'm not. I don't pretend to be some sort of like intolerant superhero or something. I'm like, what did you say? I don't try to do that, but when I can, I always try to impart to the kids that you can't always agree. You may agree, you may disagree, but you have to respect what you don't understand. And there's things that I have to respect that I don't understand. You know, I like high heel shoes. I don't get it. I don't. But I'm just like. But you know what? If it works for you, I don't get it. But I will keep doing that. I will keep encouraging kids to just have respect and try to be tolerant and hopefully encourage everyone to see the movie so that bigger issues.
There's a great piece in NPR about this person. It was about a man, an African-American man who was in the sciences, in the STEM field, and there's a dearth of African-Americans in the STEM field. And this man was at a party and said, and a scientist came to him and said, "Hi, can I have another cocktail?" And my reaction would be to flip out. And he's like, "No, I am here because I deserve to be here. I'm here because I'm a scientist." And he qualified it not as them being ignorant, but them not having learned it yet. Mm-hmm. And qualifying as ignorance as not hating you, but not knowing quite yet to do with it, quite where you fit or quite what to call you. So I think it's something I've imparted upon myself, is to not think that someone is ignorant, but not knowing quite yet what where they fall or what something means.
Yeah. Ignorance doesn't always mean hate. It means ignorant.
Yeah.
Right.
Not educated yet.
Yeah.
Correct. You know, the Chinese blessing and may you live during interesting times, and these are interesting times. So I think we're all lucky to have made it here, because not everybody came with us. So, you know, we're going to have a big party in June, and in Portsmouth, if you haven't heard.
Right there.
But just, you know, we all know what we need to do. We just need to keep on keeping on, and folks are folks, and, you know, for the next generation, the next ism, whatever it ends up being, you know.
For my part, you know, my practice, my profession has a lot of different components to it, but the one that is probably the most important and most satisfying is a combination of letting people who fall in love with whomever they fall in love with, be together, and therefore establish, and then in other cases down the road, maintain, keep their families together. So whether it's a same-sex issue, whether it's the unaccompanied minors at the border, whether it's people who've been here since they were children who are now 25 and may or may not qualify under the law, I guess it would be the biggest boldest lie to say I'm not very political, but I don't think of my work politically. I just think of it as individual stories of people who want pretty much what everybody else wants and who live with incredible burdens and stresses that a lot of us can't fathom. I mean, you can't fathom what it's like when you leave your house every day not knowing if you're going to come home the same way they didn't know if immigration was going to knock on the door. And to have that unease, the sense that you can't get around on public transportation in New Hampshire, but you can't get a driver's license. So what do you do if you are not documented? And that's my mission. I'm lucky enough that I figured out what to do, and I, every once in a while actually get paid to do it, so that I can help people just live a life on their own terms.
Yes, and before we congratulate all our wonderful panelists in our groundbreaking discussion. Monumental, sorry, groundbreaking and monumental. I just want to echo what Jemmy said. And if you are a member, please become one, because how often, in what part in this state and in this region would you be able to sit down with people who are so knowledgeable of the field, about the movie, but they're knowledgeable about the field and much where the movie is about. And I think if you haven't considered membership, please consider it. You get a free movie during membership month, just say no. And there are flyers out at the box office, and we'd love to talk to you about it. But I just want to thank all of you for coming here, and especially your panelists for coming. Thank you so much.